Let's see if it worked. Are you there, John?
I'm there.
Are you motherfathers here? I can't hear you. Nick, I can't hear you. Okay. Let's see. We're up. I got the editor over here on my side screen getting the chat up. I'd be fucking lost without him, guys. All right. Hey, feel free if you got any questions, toss them over here. Me and John, we're already sitting here talking about what we like tonight. It's so much. John, can we just agree that this slate is so much more refreshing than like the last 3 primetime slates we've had?
Oh, I mean, it's the total polar opposite. Here we have like an embarrassment of riches in terms of skill position players that you want to play.
Yep.
But also, I think there's also like a pretty prevailing narrative that we were just talking about. And I think the prevailing narrative is that people think the Bengals are going to actually roll this 3-0 Miami team. And I mean, I think there's a lot of reasons that makes sense. Miami's coming off like a really hard-fought game in the heat where dudes were just cramping up, and literally everyone was saying it was
now wasn't that the Bills
conditions.
Wasn't that the Bills guys that were dying much more than the Miami guys though?
Yeah, but even the Miami guys acknowledged like it was a hard-ass game, and it was a long game. They played 90 offensive plays, so that means the Bills played 90 offensive plays, which means Miami's defense played 90 defensive plays. I mean, it's just a lot of wear and tear and a quick turn to Thursday, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Thursdays notoriously have sloggier games because of the quick turn. And now you have to worry about Miami just having let down after they knock off their division rival and like longtime bugaboo or whatever in the Bills.
Who'd the Bengals play this? Who were the Bengals? Who'd the Bengals play again? They had
the Jets.
The Jets, and they beat them. Yes,
yeah,
they definitely beat them. Taj Boyd had the big game.
Yeah, it could have been bigger though for all of the Bengals. They should have won that game more handily than they did. But yeah, so they coming off a Jets win, their first win of the season, after they have like a pretty big hangover to start the season off that Super Bowl loss.
All right, so my narrative was going to be that the Bengals are going to roll the Dolphins. But what you're telling me is that is going to be a very, very common narrative or script, right, of a game. And so even if I'm building lineups around that, I'm really not being that much different by playing a script that's probably the most prevalent out there for tonight, right? I think that narrative will be more popular. That game script will be more popular than the shootout narrative, than the low scoring slog narrative, and certainly more popular than the Miami blows them out narrative.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I think 4-2 builds with Bengals heavy will be like the predominant build today. I think people want to play like Chase or T as captain, and they want to play Burrow, and then they want to play one of Waddle or Hill, and then whatever your salary lets you go after that, like that's going to be the build, right?
Right. The nice thing about that build is I really do love some Miami fucking punts in that build, right? Like I could really see a Gesicki or Cedric Wilson Jr. getting there in a build.
So that was my question: is Cedric Wilson playing?
Shit, is he not? Let me go over here to the Twitters. You can see I was
trying to Google really quickly, and as I was getting on here, and I couldn't.
This is the kind of stuff we should be looking up. Cedric Wilson Jr. Let's see, latest. What do we got here? Maybe I should just do. You look it up. Hey, while you're looking that up, I want to stay active on the chat over here. I don't want to just wait till the end. I want to answer him as they ask him. My dude Delbert's here.
Sure.
So Delbert wants to know, do you see any scenario where Edmonds makes sense as a captain just to be different? I'll let you lead off with that one, sir.
So Edmonds or even Mostert, both of the Miami running backs are like somewhat interesting captains. I actually think I like Mostert as a captain better than Edmonds, but I think they're both viable as like counter builds. And I can see the Miami wanting to rely on a run, right? If like we're really buying into the narrative that they're worn out, they played like a hard game, why don't they want to eat the clock up and just grind it, right? But to me, I think that's probably Mostert doing that over Edmonds. Like Edmonds is if I'm playing I think Edmonds is pretty interesting if I'm playing 2 Dolphins, 4 Bengals, but I'm playing like Edmonds as my captain. So it'd be like Edmonds, Tua as my only 2 Dolphins, and then 4 Bengals. So the thought there is like the Bengals are rolling, so Edmonds is in there as my passing back, and he he catches a dump off and takes it 80 yards or whatever makes him optimal over the other guys.
And not to be captain overreaction, right? But Mozart was the one that was on the field way more than Edmonds the last game, right? Like he was getting it. I mean, I know Edmonds was getting the goal line carries and stuff, but Mozart, wasn't he out on the field for more total plays and for the passing downs?
He's been trending towards playing more the heavier side of the split, but it is still a pretty close split. But I mean, if you think like the trend is going that way, which is something I don't mind like gambling on the trend continuing that way, because Monster is coming off that big injury also, right? So like his early season could he could be tentative, they could be limiting workload, and as he like gets more comfortable at game speed and all that, maybe he is the feature back like in the long term here. If Miami thinks he's the more talented back.
Chase Edmonds, the reason he's not going to be very popular and why he's probably showing up as a high leverage play this week is I just don't think he's going to fit very many people's scripts, right? Like what script does Chase Edmonds really produce well in? It's probably going to be Miami kind of controlling the game and running the ball a lot, right? With him getting a rushing touchdown, preferably 2, and a couple catches, right? I don't think hardly anybody's playing that script, and if they do, they're too worried that he's going to be splitting those with Mostert, right?
Yeah, he'll be super low owned at the captain.
Yep. And like the generic inputs have him at 4% captains. I mean, that's a 1 in 25 chance that you hit the nuts at captain. And I would be shocked if he's more than what? I mean, they have him at 4% owned captain. I would personally be shocked if he's above 2. Do you have ownership on his captain?
I've got him at 3.5.
Okay, so there you go. So maybe it's a little higher than I'm thinking.
And I've got him at 4.3% in my sim. So yeah, it looks like he's like slightly positive leverage at the captain.
Gotcha. Nick wants to know.
He's more positively leveraged in the flex, though.
Yeah, definitely. Nick wants to know, with Tua being hobbled, playing Bridgewater stupid? Man, I feel like that. I'll go first. I feel like playing that backup quarterback narrative, maybe in a really, really large field, if you're a fucking super risky dude, you can do it. But I just feel like that's just not a very optimal play very often. So I won't be doing it, Nick. But let's see if John Galt JD has a different take.
No, I mean, I won't be doing it either, but literally the only way you should be doing it is in that Millie Maker. And in that case, I'd probably just go ahead and captain him, right?
Yeah, exactly.
There is like fuck it, that lineup's dead anyway. So if for whatever reason Tua goes down early, or like he's a scratch into warm up that we don't hear about or whatever, anyways, and Burrow gets more run or like significant run, you're going to need Burrow to come out and fuck if he's going to matter anyways. So, because like in the reality, if Burrow comes in and plays, what's he going to do? He's going to
You keep saying Burrow.
He's going to be.
Hey, he means.
I'm sorry, not Burrow.
Bridgewater.
I'm sorry. I mean Bridgewater.
Yeah.
God, I've
it's all right. It's okay. You work.
Out of my mind.
You haven't got to just go golf and hang out all day like I have. You go. You get a free pass.
No, so Teddy Two Gloves is going to come in and throw 2 picks and like score you 8 points at the most or something. Like his ceiling is so low. Even in the best case scenario where he comes in early, his ceiling is super low. In that case, I just hate all the Bengal pass catchers or all the Dolphin pass catchers. All
right, let's do these guys a solid, because I know that a lot of guys are really interested in this game script thing that you and I are always talking about, right? Like, and this is a problem that me and you do. A lot of times me and you act like we're talking to fucking graduate students, right? And a lot of times when we're throwing these new concepts at them, we got to remember a lot of times these guys are like freshmen in college, right? And we're sitting here talking graduate level. So let's kind of introduce a new concept to them and not make it so intimidating. Let's talk about a specific script. And we've already talked about I'll talk about mine, and then you talk about one, and then talk about the specific kind of players you would target for that script and why you would do it, right? So I'll lead off just because I'm a former teacher. I know what the fuck I'm looking for here, right? So my initial narrative, which I'm getting a little cold on now because John Galt's mind fucking me that it's going to be too popular, but I really like a Bengals roll type of script. And in that script, I would almost assuredly have Burrow, Mixon, or Chase, or probably even T. Higgins. One of those 4 is my captain, and then I would definitely play 2 of the other ones. So I'd stack my big 3 Bengals guys, because if the Bengals go out and win this game 28-7, there is a very good chance that all 3 of those guys eat, and they eat good, right? And then from there, who are some other guys I'm going to be looking to play? Well, I don't know if Tua gets there in a blowout. Plus, I probably can't afford him if I've already put 3 Bengal studs in there, so he's probably out. Chase Edmonds I'm worried that he won't get as much pass catching. Plus, at 6,200, that's not exactly cheap. But I would be warm to people from the Dolphins, some run backs like Mostert. I would like Cedric Wilson Jr. because if they're going to be passing from behind, he only needs to get 3 or 4 catches in garbage time to easily pay off that salary. Maybe a garbage touchdown if you're lucky. I would really like Mike Gesicki. I would never play Mike Gesicki in a regular script, but in a script where the Dolphins are behind and they're just passing it around, throw the big white guy out there and let him catch some balls. I also wouldn't be playing the Dolphins defense, right? I don't see any script in which the Bengals score 20, win the game 28-7, and the Dolphins defense gets there. But on the flip side of that, I would definitely be comfortable playing the Bengals defense, the Bengals kicker, because in a game where they're kicking ass, if they do win it, let's say 27-7, right, and they get their 2 field goals, the kicker, the defense, and 3 studs could get there. You run it back with 1 Dolphin, right? Those are the kind of things I'm looking at. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, guys like that are almost always off the table for me in that build, just because they're price prohibitive, because I would want to stack the Bengals studs. And they're probably, if the team's only going to score 7 or 10 points, I don't see any way those guys get there. So that's how you take a script, and then you make a player pool based on that script, and then you just mix and match all those different pieces. That's what I talk about when I say a game script and having player pools. I hope that makes sense, right? Like if you've never heard of this idea, it's kind of a lot to wrap your head around at first, but once you start doing it, you're like, yeah, that does make sense. Why would I play this guy if this is how the game is going to play out? There's no way he gets there. So there you go. John, up to you, brother. You got a game script that you would go with?
I do, but first, I actually wanted to talk through your game script a second, or actually just a way to play your game script, since I've soured you on the popularity at least.
Yeah, the dream killer, John himself. Go on.
I think you could play like what you're talking about, a Bengals pass catcher and or Burrow as the captain, and then you just basically have to play. You can't play all of them, so you can't do Chase as the captain with Burrow and Higgins. Instead of Higgins, now you need to do a non-Chaser or T.
Hurst.
Hurst. Yeah, exactly. Or Boyd, I guess, if you wanted to.
Yeah. Oh, no. I'm not playing. $7,000 Boyd is definitely one guy I'm not playing tonight. You can tell me he's 100% leverage. Like, go fuck yourself. I'm not playing.
I just don't understand that price tag. Because he had a big game last week, they're just going to price him right on up. Like, that's insane. The other one I saw that was insane. How much is Samaje Perine? Isn't he really insanely expensive also?
Yeah, 5,400. No, 7,400. What the fuck?
That's what I was saying. Yeah, you just
what are we doing?
That guy.
Look, I'm the biggest OU fan around.
Samaje
Perine should not be 7,400. And some people are going to get cute and say, I'm going to play him. I wouldn't do it. There's just no way. I think he gets there 1 out of 50 times, maybe. I don't know.
He literally needs Mixon to get hurt, I think. Yeah, I think that's the only way he has a chance to get there.
Absolutely. I hate that.
Okay, so I think you can play your script, though, doing it that way. Playing like one of the non-Chase. You can only play one of Chase and T in the lineup, and I think you'd be fine ownership-wise.
Yep.
I think the problem is where you try to play both Chase and T. Unless you do Burrow as the captain, because like you could do Burrow captain, Chase T, and then you have to think about really getting different. That might be too expensive, but
I'll just go put it in right now. Let's see if I were to do that, putting it up on the screen. So you're saying Burrow at captain, and then run a Chase and T Higgins out there.
I guess Burrow is significantly cheaper than Chase, so that's actually works better. That's
actually you. Not only can you make that work, it's very very easy to make that work. Just go throw in. I mean, anybody. Just go throw in. I think.
Mostert.
You could. Yeah, okay, we'll throw in Mostert. That'd be easy because he's cheap. So 4,400. Now we got 6,000 left for our 2 spots. Bengals defense. Yeah, and then you can get all the way back up. You get all the way up to Bridgewater. There you go.
Okay, don't do that. But you could do Boyd, right? Like, okay, but I don't like that. But okay, so what I actually like better then is taking out T, taking T to Hayden Hurst.
Where is Hayden Hurst? 5,400.
Hey, we could be like RPS and we can all hold hands. And
Tyreek Hill, let's go. Oh wait, I can't be building lineups. Okay.
But yeah, so like that's the idea. You could build something like that. Not filling in those last couple spots, but you could build something like that that I think actually gets you pretty unique and lets you play your script of the Bengals rolling.
Hey, Kevin Marr has a question. Rivers Craycraft is a nice pump for Miami. He's had 2 touchdowns this year as part of the practice squad, so they rewarded him with a spot on the 53-man roster. Why do I know that name, River Craycraft?
Because he's literally caught 2 touchdowns, 1 in each of the last 2 weeks.
Okay, well there you go. I haven't been keeping it. Oh yeah, maybe I do remember.
Plus, it's kind of a cool fucking name.
It's a pretty memorable name. There you go. He's actually 2,400. Let's go see where he's at on Run the Sims. What's he coming in at?
So what's interesting about him is if Cedric Wilson doesn't go, I think both him and Trent Sherfield, is that his name?
Yeah.
Both become pretty viable if Cedric Wilson isn't going to go. I actually think Sherfield is somewhat viable even if he does go. And then same with the other guy, right? Like if you're playing the big field stuff and you need a way to get different, go for it. But if you're just playing like the $100 single entry with 300 people or whatever, you probably don't need to play River Cackcroft.
Crack.
So I guess then back to my game script, because I told you yours was too popular and I pooped all over your dreams.
Yes.
So I think a way you can play it that I think is still pretty viable is that the Dolphins just try to slow this game down. They feature their running backs, and I think I'd probably prefer it be Mostert, but maybe they do feature Edmonds. But either way, you play one of them. They feature that player, so you don't play Tua. You play a back. You maybe play one pass catcher from the Dolphins. And then you play either 4 Bengals or you play Dolphins defense and 3 Bengals, or Dolphins defense, a kicker, Sanders or whatever, and the defense. So it's like just a grind script, right? So in that case, you're talking about a low-scoring game where the Dolphins are trying to control the clock with a run game. The Bengals will try to throw the ball, but they're not going to have as many offensive possessions, so there'll just be less opportunity in a lower-scoring game generally. And to the extent you think they aren't successful, then you should be playing the Dolphins defense.
Yep. Hey, real quick, Delbert says, thanks for answering the question. You're welcome, you motherfather. Brett wants to know, do you guys see a high or low-scoring game tonight? I want to just answer that real quick before you jump on it, John. It doesn't matter what we think. It matters what you think. Pick your game script. If I had to bet, I would. Well, no, I'm not. I take that back. If I had to play a script, I would play a low-scoring script just because I think that will be a much lower owned type of build than the shootout narrative, right? These teams are this showdown slate is built for shootout narrative, right? Because you've got high volume receivers, you have quarterbacks that like to chunk it down the field, and you have cheap receiving options that can also get there, right? Like all you need is one of those punt wide receivers from Miami to catch a big touchdown, and now all of a sudden a lineup that has Tyreek Hill, Tua, Burrow, that starts to become very viable, right? And so I'm not going to predict how the game's going to go. I'm just going to tell you, if I had to pick, I would play a script based on its low scoring because I think that'll be a less owned script. What say you, John?
So I'm probably going to play 3 main scripts, and I'm trying to figure out still what proportion I'm going to play each of them. So each of the 2 scripts we've talked about, which is a slow-paced game with the Dolphins trying to control through the run game, Bengals coming out and having great success in the pass game. That's the other script. And then the final script that I'm going to play is sort of the opposite that no one's talked about, and it's just the Dolphins continuing to just come out and gunsling, and both pass catchers getting there, and fuck the running backs, and let's go. This game is just an all-time classic on Thursday night, and we get a gunslinging.
A Tua? Would you stack Tua, Hill, and Waddle together, or would you just do Tua and one of them and then go try to take one of those punt receivers from Miami? If you go.
So the nice thing about Miami is they're pretty consolidated. Like, they want to make their big dogs eat. So I don't hate the idea, or actually I quite like the idea of playing a Tua captain with both Hill and Waddle. Now, if I'm going to captain Hill or Waddle, that's a slightly different question. Because then if you're saying one gets enough outsized production, so if you're captaining Tua, you're saying he spreads it around, both those guys get theirs, but neither one gets so outsized. And it actually is sort of helpful if he then also throws one to whatever these fucking dudes we've been talking about are, right? So because then it's one less away from Waddle, but it's still boosting your Tua shares. So that would make Tua be optimal captain over those guys. But if I'm playing Hill or Waddle in my captain, I am less likely to then play the reciprocal, because you are saying one of them is getting a huge outsized game. So in those strips, I do like playing a Cedric Wilson or a Trent Sherfield or Craycraft. Yeah, exactly. Because you're then you are wanting the production to be pulled away from those guys.
All right, Nick.
From the other one.
Nick has a quick question. He said, "You said you're doing 3 different scripts across how many lineups is that, John?"
So that was actually what I was debating when I'm trying to figure out my allocation. Right now I'm trying to take the punt way out and saying 90 and 30, 30, 30, but that feels like super punny. Right now I'm registered in just 20 because I only registered all my King of the Beach and high dollar stuff already. And I'm just trying to figure out how many I'm going to burn dollars in that big field one.
I just realized I haven't reserved shit. I hope they're not all full. I did this. This is what I've been doing recently. Is I get so busy making this content, I forget to fucking go reserve my shit, and then
you should, because on popular showdown slates they definitely fill up more so than the boring ass New York Giants.
Yeah, man, this shit's filling up quick. Reserve seats, max that bad boy. Let's go. Okay,
especially the 400K $3. I think that one is that the one you just reserved? I think that was
exactly. I like that one a lot. It's a very nice prize pool to be attacking where I can build some fucking filthy lineups. So
and you should be building some filthy lineups. With the field size there, that's a great opportunity for people to experiment putting in some gross stuff. So in that big of a field, that is where you should be playing River Phoenix and all that kind of stuff.
If you call him River Phoenix one more time, sir, okay, you will put some respect on Craycraft's name. Brett wants to know real quick, you guys buying into this Tyreek versus Eli Apple beef? The Dolphins are going to feed him. I'll answer first real quick. I've always thought that anytime I try to buy into that narrative, like, oh, it's a revenge game, he's playing against his old team, that shit always seems to disappoint, right? Or this guy's been talking shit to him, they're going to let him eat. And every time I play that, it never seems to pan out how I want it to pan out. So, that's a lot like whenever I hear Morikawa got new irons, I can't play him this week. Fuck that, I'll play him, right? Like, I just kind of like to go against what everybody's thinking.
Yeah, I think it can go a couple different ways, like even to the extent you believe it matters. Like, do you think they come in so hyped, or Tyreek comes in so hyped and ready to roll that, like, his adrenaline, he just can't perform? Like, he duds it out because he's so amped to get out there and do it? Or does he, like, truly come out and put on? Like, I just think there's no real way to, like, factor that into your analysis. And so, like, if it makes you like him more than play him. But
what ownership do you have Tyreek Hill at? Because I'm just looking here on Run the Sims, and they have him at 45%, and that seems really high for that guy at that price. I'd be very surprised if he's 45%. Now, if you say 45, I'll believe you, but I ain't gonna believe Run the Sims. Their ownership is the only thing about this site that's not A+.
I've got him 37 in the flex and 11 in the captain.
So you got him at 48. Jesus, you got him even higher.
Total.
Wow. Okay. Well, there you go. As I said, Tyreek Hill will definitely be owned. So, all right. Let's go down the path of let's just talk about some specific guys. Let's start with the ugly positions. Are you interested in either of these kickers? And if so, what kind of script are you needing to see them in?
Yeah, I think actually you can play the kickers in any of the scripts I've talked about, because in the high-scoring kicks, they just have more opportunities both on field goals and touchdowns running up and down the field. And then in the low-scoring, they have an opportunity to be like the highest scorers in their range, because like just they're the only point scoring if it's truly a slowed down game. So I think I like McPherson better. Like, we saw him in the playoff run last year, just like look like a total stud. But
I got to tell you what I've seen on Twitter all week. Kickers and the captain, and you win, it's gonna get fucking contentious. Okay, I got friends on both sides of that argument, so I'm not going to weigh in it. I got opinions, but, I'm not trying to step on anybody's dick.
I will not be having kickers in my captain. I'll go ahead and say I will never, ever, ever have a kicker in my fucking captain, period.
Right, well, then we know what side John's on. Okay.
I'm not going to bash anybody. It's your gambling dollars. You play them however the hell you want, but for my gambling dollars, that shit ain't happening.
All right, so for kickers, one last question. Will you play? If you think one side's going to beat the shit out of the other team, will you play the team that's getting the shit beat out of them's kicker as a run
yeah,
back?
I think that's totally viable way if you're like, that's the only points this team scores, and they're having a no success either through the air or the ground. And, yeah, you got a 5-1, and that's the one is the kicker.
Absolutely.
I don't think that's the worst thing I've heard.
All right,
so back to the kicker and the captain. It is after the Thursday night slate, or whatever night it was, Sunday night slate. No, Monday night
Monday.
slate.
It was Monday.
Monday night slate. It has now won 2% of all Showdown slates ever. Before it was like 1-point-something%. Okay.
So you're saying there's a chance. That's all I'm hearing.
1 in 50 fucking Showdown slates it happens. Okay.
He's fired up. Hey, that means once a year, motherfuckers. Okay, we're not doing this. All right, defense. I got friends on both sides. I just do my own thing. I only indirectly shit on people in the industry, never by name. So, defense, special teams. Which are you open to playing them? If so, which ones and in what scripts?
Yeah, so in the Bengals roll script, I like the Bengals defense, because if we do think the Dolphins come out flat, and they get behind, they're still going to have to throw the ball. So if they're flat and forced to throw the ball, that's a good opportunity for Bengals defense to get home. In the Dolphins try to grind it out script, I think I like, if I'm not playing Bengals pass catchers, because the Dolphins are trying to grind it out, you can play Bengals pass catchers coming back. Only like 1 or 2 of them, though, because since there's a limited number of plays, only a limited number of them are going to be able to get value. Or you can play like even less Bengals pass catchers and play the Dolphins defense in that case, in which case you're saying the Dolphins defense.
I don't know if you saw the Showdown Hoedown today, but did you know that Miami is the 5th slowest team in the NFL? That blew my mind.
I don't even know how that could be possible with the success they've had through the air.
Only averaging 56 plays a game. I mean, I guess it does hurt that their last game they only ran 39 plays. I don't know how the fuck that's even possible. But, yeah, it has to be accounted for, right?
Yeah, that's amazing. That makes their success even more amazing for those wide receivers that have got.
That's my biggest concern with Miami is I feel like they've been very efficient, and that efficiency is going to have a hard time maintaining. All right, let's talk about our favorite stud. Okay, let's do your favorite stud from the Bengals, like the guy over, we'll just say 9,000. Your favorite Bengal and your favorite Dolphin over 9,000, and why?
Okay, that's easy. Jamar Chase, and have you seen the picture of him in the all-white uniform?
Oh no, is he sleek?
Oh, dude,
Looks like a
he
sports
looks like
car.
a fucking the Bengal from Siegfried and Roy or some shit, dude. He looks cool as hell.
All right. So yeah, and Jamar
but
Chase,
that's not why. But just also, I think Jamar Chase is like a freak, and if the Bengals are going to get there, I think there's a very good chance it goes through Chase.
Yeah. I will say that there is the Bengals have been concerningly inefficient so far this year, right? Like
early season, they had problems with their offensive line, which has looked slightly better in the last game and a half.
Okay. All right, Captain Ray of Sunshine. Can we agree T. Higgins is underpriced at 8,200, and I can't believe he's not higher owned? Because it really seemed like they were making a point to go after him last game. Like, get him the ball.
Yeah, I thought the industry wanted him to be the guy last week, and then maybe when he wasn't there, maybe that's the reason for the lower projected ownership is since the industry was really high on him last week, and he was sort of a letdown, or he was a letdown, and he dropped a touchdown. I think maybe that's just lower industry sentiment.
Okay. My favorite player from the Bengals is also Jamar Chase, but here, to me, this is where you're going to win or lose at GPP tonight. Picking the Dolphins correctly. I think the Dolphins are about 50 times harder to pick this tonight than the Bengals are. And you would think that wouldn't be the case because of their concentrated volume to the two big pass catchers. But then my counterpoint to that would be, are we even sure that those guys are going to get a ton of targets? Because I'm not convinced that the Dolphins are going to pass a ton. And then you say, well, they're going to run the ball. Well, then who the fuck is it going to be? Is it going to be Evans or is it going to be Mostert? So to me, properly, getting a script that will accurately pick the Dolphins is the nuts play tonight. That's what I think.
Yeah, and that's one of the builds I like is a 4-2 Miami build, like we had talked about. So
give me an example of 4 Dolphins you would go with in a 4-2 Dolphin stack.
So I think you could start with, like we talked about, either Tua as your captain, and then both of Hill and Waddle, and then the Dolphins defense. So there's your 4, and then you'd have to play.
Are you worried? Are you not worried about Waddle at all? Like they might play restriction, pull him early, re-aggravating injury. None of that bothers you?
Oh, of course. But if you're playing him, you got to assume he's good to go. And I think that's the reason he's coming in significantly lower owned than Hill.
And what percentage do you have him at?
I've got him at 31 in the flex and 7.9, so 8 basically in the captain. So 31.5 and 8.
31.5 and 8. So you got him at 39. That's pretty close to what's on here. But they're saying he only shows up in the optimizer 25.5% of the time. Why is he so low? Man,
I've got huge negative leverage on both of the Miami pass catchers.
Yeah. I mean, Jesus, they're not giving him that big a market share. Doesn't 24 and 22% seem relatively low?
Yeah, that really does actually. So they now have it spread out because they've given all of these other small guys, which if we think they want to limit these guys that have been busy so far this season, maybe it does make sense that the target share is lower for both of those guys. But if you're playing the script where the Dolphins are going to come out and be the Dolphins that we saw in the first 3 games, I think you need to bump that up.
Right. All right, let's see. Any other questions, guys? If you have questions, ask now, forever hold your peace. Me and John have went over any absolute fucking punts. Cedric Wilson is a punt that I'm open to. Mike Gesicki is overpriced.
So let's see. Here's true punts, largest to smallest. You can play
Ingold. Are you in for some Ingold? Alex Ingold?
I'm not. I think the lowest price tag guy I'll get to is Trent Sherfield.
1,400.
Yeah.
Okay. You can't see Ingold 3 passes, 13 yards and a touchdown.
Oh,
doesn't Miami run
literally
I think Miami runs 12 personnel a lot, don't they? Or 20? No, that's 21 personnel.
I think Gesicki has been primarily blocking tight end. I don't think they need to run a fullback. I think they've got a big useless blocking tight end already.
Useless. Look at you fucking elitist. All right.
You can tell how much I'm playing Mike Gesicki tonight.
Yeah. I
do like Hayden Hurst quite a bit, even though they're both similarly negative leverage.
Yeah. They got Hayden Hurst about equal on here. So, long story short, guys, any questions, get them in now. If not, feel free to shoot us DMs. John, did you already get your shit over to the editor and get it posted?
Should already be posted, yeah.
All right, cool. So there you go. All of his projections and ownerships up over there. My final advice to all you guys is pick your script and run with it, right? I like anywhere from 5 to 20 lineups. You know, if you want to just play 5 single entries in some different tournaments, that's fine too. But still, you know, maybe just keep that same script across all 5 tournaments. Don't think of each tournament as individual, but just think of them as your lineups, right? And make all your lineups, especially if you're only doing 5, I would probably just run one script that you think is going to happen and kind of mix and match around that script. I wouldn't even really worry about running more than one script probably until you get up over 20 lineups. That would probably be my advice. John, you got anything?
No, I think that makes sense. Who's your favorite captain tonight?
I will be playing Jamar Chase the most at captain. I have so many guys that are reasonably priced that I will be playing a ton of Jamar Chase. I feel like he could get there in almost any game script I want. And, you know, even in a Miami blowout, Chase could still get there as a captain. I know that sounds weird, but he could just be a user. You know, it's kind of like what I did with Deontay Johnson. I put him as captain and ran him against 5 Browns, and it almost worked out. If Njoku didn't go ape shit, it would have worked out really nice.
So I probably want Burrow in that stack. I probably want at least 2, like just Chase plus Burrow and then 4 Dolphins. But I don't mind that at all.
Yeah. It's a way to get different, man. I'm trying to win that 100,000 a night, and you know, at least get half of it. I don't want to be duped 257 times.
I feel that.
I just want to hit one and then talk about all the haters. Make me laugh. Okay, that's it, guys. Good luck tonight. Shoot us a message if you have any questions. We'll be pretty active on the Discord. We'll also be making our lineups. Let's go kick some ass tonight, you mother fathers. We are out. I'm stopping streaming. Meow.